This is a story I don't tell very often. It's not something I like to think about. You see, when I was a senior in high school, well, an adult I trusted came to our front door while my mom was at work. This person pushed past me and my sister and into the house, and then, using a tire iron, proceeded to destroy several things in the house before exiting and driving off. As a result, I was subpoenaed. I had to appear as a witness in the trial of this person. I told the story of what happened. There were follow-up questions. I answered as best I could. Then I was excused. That was it. As for why this person would want to destroy just the few things that they did, such as the turntable and the washing machine, what the results of the trial were, or what, if anything, was ordered as a result, I, to this day, have no idea. And given the few things I do know, I'm not all that inclined to pursue it. I bring this story up for only one reason. You see, a few weeks later, I was at my grandmother's house in Wauchula when a package arrived. The contents was a vinyl LP copy of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. As luck would have it, that was the album on the turntable when the incident occurred. And the turntable was destroyed. And one of the follow-up questions at the trial concerned that album. So it very well might be that midway through my senior year of high school, I received a court-ordered copy of Dark Side of the Moon. Seems likely, anyway. At that time in my life, I was all about Pink Floyd. For AP English, my giant midterm project was a comparison of, on one hand, the Book of Job and Archibald MacLeish's J.B., to, on the other hand, Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall, as differing examinations on the origins and root causes of human suffering. Plus, if you're learning to play guitar, you have to spend at least 100 hours with Wish You Were Here. I'm pretty sure that's a law. Oh, and if you're a young guitarist just starting college and you get a hippie girlfriend, she has to be a huge fan of the album Metal. And also, if you're an unapologetic music elitist who by reflex mutters poser at everyone with a Hard Rock Cafe t-shirt from any place out of the country, you have to spend at least a decade proclaiming that the only Pink Floyd you like these days is the Syd Barrett era stuff. I'm pretty sure those are laws too. So it came as something of a surprise to me when I was looking at Pink Floyd's discography one day and I landed on Obscured by Clouds. I had to admit to myself that I had no knowledge of this album other than its title. And that seemed crazy to me, especially considering how well I knew the rest of the albums on that list. Oh, that reminds me. Do you want to see something cool? Did you know that the Little Feat song Willin' and the Pink Floyd song Fearless worked perfectly together? Check this out. Wheat, whites, and wine. When you show me a sign, then I'll be willing to be moving. The point is, I'm certainly more than just a casual listener to Pink Floyd. So as an on-again, off-again fan for more than 40 years, it's definitely time to fill in this gap. First, check the song listings. Nothing looks familiar. Well, except that Childhood's End is also the name of a book by Arthur C. Clarke. But certainly no music is coming to mind. These titles seem evocative enough, though. Burning Bridges, What's the Deal, Absolutely Curtains. Should be fun. Spun the entire thing in one go on decent speakers in my office, but then 30 minutes later, I couldn't remember any of it. Played it again, this time on headphones. So I called and texted a few friends. Either they didn't know the album or didn't remember any of it. Even Brooks, a Floyd completist, had no solid memories of this album. Apparently, this album actively resists any attempts at familiarity. Stealth tech, maybe? Interesting. I suppose the best I can do in relaying my first impressions of Obscured by Clouds is just to rely on impressions. Normally, though, even after just a couple of listens, I have a much more concrete map of the music in my mind. But this one's slippery for whatever reason. Wacky. Okay, so what do I remember? Well, okay, so the first couple of tracks are instrumentals and don't really do all that much. There's barely a melody on either one of them. Both of them are short. The synth is cool. I think it's a Putney and not a Moog on this one, though. Gilmour's playing some slide up top. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Then there were a few very metal, umaguma kinds of songs. The heady, atmospheric types, the kind that is often used as background music to the ritual ignition, inhalation, and clockwise rotation of certain dried and prepared botanicals. You catch my meaning? And what next? Well, there was a jug band song about death and old age. And then there was another heady thing. And then some weird chanting. Yeah, I think that just about covers my first impressions. The Gilmour bend is on this album about a dozen times. You know the Gilmour bend? In a minor key, you start on the 7, hit the 4, and bend it to 5. In a major key, you start on the 5, hit the 9, and bend it up to the 3rd. Like this. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. I mean, if Piper at the Gates of Dawn is full-blown psychedelic madness and Dark Side of the Moon is the pinnacle of ambient prog, then there have to be steps to get from A to B. Or from Huxley to Oz, maybe. Bike to Eclipse? And if I put myself in that mindset, then I can see some of the same elements in Atom Heart Mother, Umaguma, More, Metal, showing up in Obscured by Clouds. Honestly, the most surprising thing during this first listen to me is that none of these songs have the kind of finish or polish or feel fleshed out at all. They all feel like small sketches that would eventually become full-fledged Floyd songs. I mean, 10 songs in 40 minutes? Those are short. Does it even count as prog at that point? Even so, I can tell there's that special kind of low energy, heady, submerging into warm buoyancy that 70s Floyd excels at. And I'm starting to pick up on one or two passages that are inclined to burrow in. So I suppose it's time. Time to kill the lights, get my acoustic guitar, and wait for the planetarium to start the laser show. Hey, is there another Seagram's in the cooler? Did you know Obscured by Clouds was a movie soundtrack? I had absolutely no idea. So apparently, a French filmmaker named Barbet Schroeder made a movie in 1972 about a diplomat's wife who travels to New Guinea in search of rare feathers. Hey, I used to play bass for Rare Feathers. But finds a bunch of hippies looking for a secret valley that nobody ever comes back from. So in typical 70s art house fashion, they head out into the jungle to find it, have a bunch of sex, and encounter an indigenous tribe. The movie was called Le Valais, or The Valley, and apparently there was some kind of trouble between the studio and Pink Floyd, because when the album was released, the movie's name was not mentioned anywhere. They took the name Obscured by Clouds from a map used in the movie to note the location of the valley. See, they couldn't chart the valley from the air because it was obscured by clouds. But in a brilliant bit of marketing, the studio decided to release the movie with the subtitle Obscured by Clouds. Apparently that was the right thing to do because shortly after the movie's release, Dark Side of the Moon was released and made all the money in the world. And the studio sold a bunch more movie tickets than they would have if not for the association with Pink Floyd. Oh, and the director guy, Barbet Schroeder, he's also the guy that directed Barfly, Reversal of Fortune, and More. And by the way, did you know More was a soundtrack? I really wanted to see this movie. I tried everything I could think of. You just can't see it in the US right now unless you want to buy a $70 used Blu-ray. And even then, it wouldn't have made it here in time. So if anyone out there has a BFI player subscription, can you hook me up? I still kind of want to see this movie. Speaking of 70s cinematic freakouts, I got to thinking about what Jodorowsky's Dune would be like since Pink Floyd was slated to do that soundtrack as well. That would have been wild. Oh, and we need to find out which Pink Floyd album matches up with David Lynch's Dune the way Dark Side of the Moon does with Wizard of Oz. Another thing I noticed, there's a track on Obscured by Clouds called Burning Bridges. I've become convinced that this song is one of the primary influences for Alain Goraguer's amazing soundtrack to Fantastic Planet. Check this out. Pink Floyd 1972. Fantastic Planet 1973. Not a ripoff, but inspiration seems likely to me. And can we talk for a minute about Free 4? Am I the only person that thought of Steve Martin's banjo bit in Let's Get Small? It's this happy little jug band tune with the most depressing lyrics of all time. You shuffle in the gloom of the sick room and talk to yourself as you die. Yeah, I mean, when I first heard that bit, all I could think of was, oh, death and grief and sorrow and murder. And that just about covers it. Obscured by Clouds. It's Floyd, no doubt about it. Doesn't really stick in the brain very well. Not for me, anyway. But it does make me want to watch early 70s art house movies. Think I'll go fire up the Criterion channel. Ooh, I know. Let's see if any of this album syncs up with Solaris.